Hello, welcome to the next episode of All the Mods 10, and today there's no time to waste because I want to go ahead and start creating a max size mechanism reactor, and as big as we can make, at least for the reactor, a giant turbine as well, so we can get some antimatter pellets up and running. Is there any particular reason I want to do that today? Not really, but I decided we would. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. There are some prerequisites I would recommend before even starting this whole thing though. And that has to have everything from like the base mechanism stuff. So like the ultimate alloys, the elites, reinforced, all that. Have all that automated so you can request those on demand. So you see here how I can make basic control circuits, steel casings and all that on demand. I would highly recommend whatever pack you're playing, if it's all the mods or something else, if you have access to like applied energistics or refined storage or whatever it may be, to go ahead and get all that auto crafting and make it so you can like request it, because we're gonna need a lot of all of it, and it's gonna be a giant pain if you try to do that on your own. It also includes things like energy and speed upgrades, but depending on how efficient you want to be. And also make sure you have a solid source of steel up and running. I would not, I would, unless you have like a constant source of steel or a giant stockpile of it, I would not start this process. Again, that's just something else. I have 264,000, which is probably going to be a lot more than I need for this project. But I would say if you have anything less than like 5,000, you might be cutting it close. But it also depends on what size you're trying to make. If you're trying to make like a small size, it probably won't matter. If you're trying to go max size, yeah. So just it depends on the person and what you're trying to do. Just, little things I thought I would mention before we even start. And also, if you want to know how to automate all that stuff, I made an episode on this a couple episodes ago. It should be in the ATM 10 playlist, so go ahead and check that out, or look up someone else's guide on YouTube. It's pretty straightforward, but if you've never done it before, it can be kind of confusing. Also, that goes for the process that we're going to be doing today. I've done this on another series before, but we're doing All the Mods 10. It's a different version. It should more or less be the same, but I'm going to go ahead and go through the process. So if you want to like have a handheld kind of thing through this, all the mods 10 pack does have a tab over here for Mekanism reactors that'll pretty much guide you through what you need to do. However, it's not comprehensive in the fact that you might not know. I'm gonna give you some special tips and tricks on the house. How about that? So just follow me through, and hopefully we'll get this all knocked out. Before we do anything at all, I want to go ahead and make the matrix, which is really good for storing a whole booty load of power and has a really good input output rate. Especially since we don't have other mods that shall not be named because I don't know when they're getting updated. For like unlimited amounts of throughput and energy. So what we definitely need to do, and I've already set up crafting recipes for this. For the matrix, you need the induction ports. And you want two induction ports, at least two induction ports per thing here. So we already know how to make the elite control unit. We need to make induction casing. And to make induction casing, we're going to need steel ingots and energy tablets, which we already know how to make. So we'll go ahead and put that there. Put this here, and then if I want to make induction casing, we also want to go ahead and teach the system how to. We just taught how to make it. So now we have induction casing. So if I go ahead and request 100, sure. There's 100 steel already. So like I said, you need a big stockpile of that stuff, and we have our 100 induction casing, thanks to this stuff being so quick. And then here you also notice we need induction ports. So we got the induction port here. And the reason I'm talking so fast and going so fast is because there's a lot to cover in this episode. There's going to be a whole lot we got to do. Go ahead and grab our rewards here. And then here, so we need induction providers and induction cells. Induction providers are going to dictate how much throughput your matrix has. So if you put, let's just go ahead and open them. Induction pro, dude, I can't spell. I see a provider here. So induction provider, you see output rate is 102,000 FE per tick. And the next one up is 819,000, 6.5 mil, 52.5 mil. And that's per provider. So if I put two of these in here, you'll have a total like throughput of your matrix of 104 mil. So I'm going to teach the system. Let's see. So I've already taught the system how to pretty much craft up to it. And to craft up to it, you need basic energy cubes, which are pretty simple, straightforward. We've seen this before, and lithium dust. This is why I spent the last couple episodes trying to build up a massive stockpile of lithium dust, because for the matrix, you will need a lot of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and craft up our request. Let's just do 4. Request 4, and then as you can see here, like it's expensive-ish. Not for us at this point, but like 1300 steel for this already is gone. That's why I'm saying have a huge stockpile of steel, and the rest of it is pretty fine. So go ahead and start that, and these take a while to craft just because they're ultimate tier. They're compound crafts. So like one of these takes 4 of these, which takes 4 of these, which takes 4 of these, and you can see how it gets kind of expensive. So while those parts craft, we also need to look into getting the induction cells. So the induction cells, here we are. These are what give you the actual like power storage. So this will store 1.6. Oh, they finally changed it to trillion. It's been like giga FE for since its inception. They finally changed it to trillion. I don't know why they use giga, but I'm happy they changed it to trillion. Giga and trillion are the same thing, I'm pretty sure. So yeah. So now we can get, oh no, trillion, giga's billion. That's right. I'm dumb. Don't listen to me. So each ultimate induction cell will give you 1.6 trillion FE of storage. So realistically, you would only ever need one of these. But you know, since we're here, we might as well. And this is pretty much the same exact recipe as the providers, except instead of these change out right here, but you still need the ultimate energy cubes, and they stack on top of each other and all of that. So you'll need a lot of gold for this also, which good thing we have quite a bit. So if we go ahead and search for our ultimate induction cell here, I'll go ahead and request like, I don't know, 30 of them, which is going to be way overkill. Like 10k sand, 10k steel. Like I said, you're going to want a giant amount of steel. So yeah, 51,000 gold. Yeah, you need a lot. So go ahead and start that. And the reason I'm starting that now is because those crafts take a long time. Like they could take multiple hours depending on how you have your setup going. But yeah. So make sure everything all your infusing factories are ultimate with auto sort and max speed and energy upgrades. Energy doesn't really matter, but they will be very expensive. Just make sure that this is going at full speed. You might even want to make 2 infusing factories for each recipe, because that might help a little bit. But yeah, other than that, make sure everything's upgraded, because those crafts will take a long time. Next up on the list is moving down the quest line here, and it wants us to make this, so I'll go ahead and make it. I'm not going to be using this. You can if you want, and the reason you need the hazmat stuff is because if you break something that has the chemicals that we'll be using, it will irradiate you and probably kill you. Unless you're wearing like super high end gear like the mecha suit, which you can't wear the mecha suit until you've gone through this process anyway. So yeah, we'll go ahead and make a hazmat suit and all that. We have our dye already in the system just because I guess it's a leftover. So there we go. Now we have a hazmat suit. I'm not going to wear it. Go back in the system, please. We'll go ahead and grab our quest rewards here. And then from there, we can... that thing was not complete. We need a fission reactor. So if you read it down here, it says just like most Mekanism multi-blocks, reactor can be customized in size. Maximum size is 18 by 18 by 18. We're gonna start with a 5 by 5, and that's false. We're going straight for the big time. Okay, we're going straight for the 18 by 18 by 18. That's because I've been saving up for this stuff for a while now. So in essence, I'll just teach the system how to make all this. So the reactor, oh, it takes enriched iron over steel. Why? Why not just go all the way to steel? I'll teach the system how to make that, which is unfortunate. And then, yeah, so this should be pretty easy. This just takes a steel casing and lead. Teach you how to make that, and then I'll teach you how to make this, and then I need to teach you how to make enriched iron, which I'll just get rid of that, and we'll just use a normal iron ingot. That counts, right? Yeah. Okay. There we go, and I'll teach the system how to make that. Okay, now that system knows how to make it, I'll go ahead and request some of these things. So the reactor casing will need a lot of, so I'd probably say, I'm not gonna do the math on it. So I'm just gonna off the bat request for 400. And then from there, we can give or take, depending on how much we need. And then the reactor glass will take a little bit longer, and I'm gonna go with 500 on that. Could be a little bit more than we need, but again, that's gonna take a little bit to craft just because the enriched iron has to go through, but yeah. And while that's crafting, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the next part of this quest line. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit here. And we're gonna need fission fuel assemblies. These are pretty much like where all your uranium, like where all your fuel is gonna go. And then the control rod assemblies need to go on top of those. So for every, like, as you can see here, I'll just read it. For this build, we'll put 2 of the fission fuel assemblies in the center of a multi-block, and then put the control rod assembly right on top of it. So for every like section of rods, you're gonna need 1 controller on top of it. And to make a new room, we're gonna need to make to make space for our new stuff. We need to make a new room. So that's what I'm doing now with the builder and this trash and everything. It's the Christmas brigade of zombies. They even drop Christmas stuff. All right, I ran out of concrete, but just take my word for it. The walls and the ceiling will get finished at some point. It's just not gonna be right now. And as you can see, I have some stuff here that is ready to go. And for that, I'm going to build the max size fission reactor. And to do that, I will show you how to do that now, actually. So if you go in the quest book, as of recording this right now, the quest book hasn't been updated from all the mods 9. So you'll see like right here, it says if you need help building it, hold W to ponder. That's from create and all of the mods 9. That's not in this pack. So a little bit about this, about how to build the fission reactor, is all the like the corner pieces, like the frame, needs to be out of this casing. So for example, if I'm gonna make like a really small reactor, like all the corners like this, I need to make the outline in the casing like this, like so. And then all like the interior kind of blocks can be different. So for example, like then I can go ahead and put all this reactor glass like this if I want, and all that. And I can mix and match on this. But the moral of the story is like the corner pieces of everything, the corners and edges need to be this reactor casing. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this, and then I'm gonna build an 18 by 18. So I'm gonna start in this corner right here and do 1, 2, 3 until I get to 18. And here's the bottom of it built. As you can see, this is why I have a much bigger room back here. It's probably need to be bigger than this, honestly. I'm putting all of our big builds back here, and probably a lot of industrial, or modern industrialization. Probably go back here as well. So, yeah, good thing I did finish the walls, because it needs to be bigger than this. And if you're ever second guessing your measurements, you can go ahead and use a tape measure for measurements, and come out here and make sure it's 18 blocks. And here's the finished outline of our fission reactor. I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the bottom here with fission reactor casing, and the top as well, and probably the back and this side, because you won't be able to see it. I think I made a little too much glass. Oh well, pretty cheap for me. I actually decided to leave the top open for now, and you'll see why later. I would also recommend doing the same. And just so you know, as a rough estimate, if you're planning on doing the max size, I've not even filled up the top yet, and I've used well over 700 reactor casing. So just as a heads up from me to you, I'm going to fill in this side and this side with reactor glass. Good news is though, is I did not make too much reactor glass. Not that it really matters, but definitely need a lot. And there we go. Now it's looking as good as I want it to look right now. So next on the list is we need to make controller rod assemblies and these fission fuel assemblies as well. Both are pretty easy. Like I said earlier, have this stuff automated, and it's pretty straightforward. Nothing too expensive. So I'm gonna go ahead and teach the system how to make both of these, like so. Throw them in our assembler matrix, and be good to go. And okay, if I'm reading this right, we need 128 control rods and then almost 2,000 fuel rod assemblies. That sounds roughly right. I'm just looking at a Reddit post right now. It could be completely wrong. We need 128 of these rods. Hit next on that. And that's going to take a little bit again, because I think our big bottleneck here is going to be our infused alloy. So another tip, before you even start crafting this, maybe if you have to go do something, I would auto craft at least like 10,000 maybe infused alloy if you're going to be building a max size, but that's just me. And then for our fission fuel assembly, so the assembly, if I could spell, that'd be fantastic. We're going to need about 1,920. Go ahead and craft that. And that's a lot faster because of there's no need to wait for machines at all, which is fantastic. And go ahead and do all that. Get rid of this tape measure. And yeah, now we should be good. And a little tip about this is I'm going to be doing a checkerboard pattern, which is a really good mix between getting a lot of fissile fuel and like getting the fuel and steam out that we want and efficiency. So the way you can construct these, it depends on what you want. I'm going to shoot for, I want to get a lot of fissile fuel and a lot of steam out of this. The steam is kind of like, it's whatever. We'll be using the steam later and you'll see why. But yeah, so it really just think of what you want to do. If you want to get a lot of fissile fuel and steam, go for it. Or if you want to be super efficient and you don't really care how much fissile fuel and steam you get, also go for that. But if you're building one of these, you're probably going to want more waste and steam, so I would shoot for that. So I'm going to go for a checkerboard pattern here. I'm going to go ahead and grab some cobblestone just to kind of show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to do like every other one on this side. Oh, I'm too high already. I already know it's my first mistake. So really what you want to do here is take this would be the top layer right here, go one below it, and then start placing, because this top layer is going to be where our reactor casing is going to go over top, and that's why I left the top open, because it's much easier to do this way than I have to like get under and like look down and all that. Yeah, do like a checkerboard pattern like so, and then you come over here, and then I'll just checkerboard it. I'll put cobblestone as a temporary block. You can do whatever you want, and then come in here, checkerboard, not there, here, 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 and then I'm going to complete this for the rest of the reactor. All right, there we go. All of our rod assemblies are in, and then I'm going to go ahead and just vein mine all the cobblestone out. And bada bing, bada boom. Please go in my inventory. Maybe. Oh, there's no room. That would make sense. So then from there, you can just take your fuel rod assemblies and attach them to the bottom like so, and then attach them from there all the way to the bottom like so. And I will do that for the rest of these. And here we go. The last assembly rod is in place. I need to break myself out of here. And now our reactor is full of the assembly rods and the control rods. So we'll go ahead and claim this quest item here. Advanced tier installer. That, not the worst, I guess, but don't really care. And next thing we need are interacting with the ports. So we need at least 4 fission reactor ports. I'm probably going to make more than 4, just because, again, this is maximum size. I want to get the maximum throughput as possible. So I think I'm going to make like, I'll probably make like 10 if I had to guess. But these are super easy to make, just the fission reactor casings and elite control circuits. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and make 12. Whether I actually use 12 or not, it doesn't matter to me. But we'll have 12 just in case. And you can go ahead and put these ports really anywhere you want. So I'm going to put one port up here, and you'll see why I put one up here a little bit later. And then I'm going to put another port probably over here. I'm going to dig a hole through this wall, and you'll see why I'm going to dig a hole through the wall pretty soon here. And then I'll put the ports here-ish. So that's going to be our fuel input for some of the stuff we need. And then, let's see. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not. On the fly, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to leave this here. And then I'm going to put a lot of stuff pretty much just right here. So we'll put an input for the fuel. And then we'll put We'll put input actually over here for water as well. We'll put our water input there, our fuel input here, and then we will put 2 ports here for steam, and then 2 inputs here for water. And I'm actually gonna double this to make it, no, I think it's fine. So we'll leave 2 there for water, 2 there for steam. I'm actually gonna move this now that I think about it. I'm doing a lot of this on the fly. This may seem rehearsed, but I promise you none of this is I'm doing everything here on the fly. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put our other water input here. And so we have our fuel inputs, our water inputs. That's 1 water inputs from the base water we'll get. And this will be the recycled water. You'll see how we use that later. Can go back into here, and then our steam will come out here. And then we just need an output for all of our stuff that we're not going to need. Or not going to need. That'll be our fuel, like our spent nuclear waste will come out here. And if we go ahead and open the quest book back up and get this, get pressurized tubes as a quest reward. And you'll see down here, we need reactor failsafes. You don't need reactor failsafes, but if I were you, I would not build this thing without one. It's basically what's going to stop your reactor from blowing up and ruining your base. So I would highly recommend making them. And basically all you need is the fission reactor casing and redstone. I would make 3 logic adapters for that, and you'll see why. But just go ahead and make 3 of those. And by 3, I meant 4. That's my bad. But before I put those down, let's go ahead and fill in the ceiling, or the roof of this, I guess. And need more reactor casing. Let's go ahead and make another 100. I love how fast this stuff crafts. Truly, I do. And okay, so now that we have this whole thing, you'll see there's empty slots up here. That means the reactor is actually formed. And that's how you'll know if you did it right or not. I forgot to record that part. But once I'll show you. I'll break this, and then once you place down your final reactor casing, it should complete. You see all those red particles and now how it's formed? That should happen. If it doesn't, you've built something wrong. And my bet is that you forgot to place one of these rods here in the right place. So definitely make sure as you're going through you place those correctly, because it could be a pain. Otherwise, it should tell you where exactly you're missing something. But I'm going to go ahead and open up our roof here, and you will, again, see why. I want to make sure this is all in one chunk, by the way, just out of pure just making sure that it works. And I'll place the last one like this. So you do 1, 2, 3, and then space 1 out, and then like that. And then once it forms inside the reactor, you'll be able to right click this and you'll see this logic adapter screen come up. And so what I'm going to do here is say on damage critical, I want you to do damage critical, and then I want you to do critical waste level, and I want you to do high temperature. There are other options in here, but insufficient fuel doesn't matter to me. We can run out of fuel and that'll be fine. So in this case, whenever we get damage critical, critical waste, or high temperature, we will output a redstone signal. And I want to take that redstone signal, just place some redstone over the top here. And then what we can do is set a block here. And then with this block here, I will go ahead and grab a redstone torch. We need one of these. Grab a redstone torch and put it like so. And then so here you'll see that activation. Once you click this, the reactor will turn on when it's powered and deactivated when unpowered. So in the default state, it's always going to be powered, and unless one of these triggers. So for example, like if we were to get damage critical to the reactor, it'll go ahead power this, which will disable that and turn this reactor off. So it's essentially one big OR gate. So now that we have our reactor pretty much ready to go, we need to input fuel into it somehow. And input fuel, you'll go to your next step in your quest tab here, and it says now we are ready, and it pretty much goes through everything that I just went through. Talks about coolant and fissile fuel, which we will go through in just a moment here. And I'll go ahead and click that plutonium pellet. Pretty nice. And then if you read these, it says the fission reactor takes fissile fuel. Go ahead and click through that. And it's pretty much walks you through the process of how to get fissile fuel. And to get fissile fuel, if you show this, it'll say sulfuric acid is one of your first steps here. So it says you should have already made a sulfuric acid for your tier 4 ore processing. I haven't. You don't need to. It's whatever. We'll get there in a moment. Start by getting sulfur and finding underground or mixing hydrogen chloride with gunpowder. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. For me, at least, I'm assuming in about 99% of cases, your reactor will be bottlenecked heavily by sulfur. So make sure you have a metric booty load of sulfur on hand and can produce it very quickly. And if I go ahead and open up our thing here and look for sulfur, you can see we don't have sulfur. So our quarry does not produce sulfur with the atomic reconstructors. So from this point, we pretty much have two options. As you can see, I do have sulfur seeds. You can grow through mystical agriculture, or if you look at the quest book here, it says we can also do hydrogen chloride and gunpowder. Now, gunpowder, I got a lot of that. I can get a lot of it very quickly with our mob farm. So it actually looks like the quest book lied once again, which is good that we are going through it on video here. So it's not gunpowder. It can take coal dust and variants of coal, so coal, charcoal, things like that. And it can also take blocks of charcoal and blocks of coal. So luckily for us, I also have a really good source of coal. Again, the mob farm there. So that won't be an issue for us. As you can see, we have a little bit of it. And we'll go ahead and use that to get our sulfur. So if we go through and look, where was it? I guess you can use this to get this, but I don't know about hydrogen chloride. That seems like it might be a little bit expensive compared to what I was looking at earlier. Where is it? The pressurized reaction chamber with coal and all this seems to be a little bit better. All it takes is some oxygen and water. Oxygen is super easy to get. It's just the electrolytic separator and you pump water into it and you get oxygen. So I got this little setup here just to see how quickly it can turn the block of coal to the 9 sulfur. I went ahead and gave it all the upgrades, so let's see if this is a viable option. Maybe. How much does it take? So it makes it decently quickly, but I'm going to go ahead and make multiple setups of this stuff. Because this one electrolytic separator can supply quite a bit of oxygen to this, and we'll just have to dump out the hydrogen. I'm also going to go ahead and teach the system how to make some of these machines, just because we'll be using them enough that I don't want to keep crafting them by hand. And since sulfur is going to be like one of the entry points to the line, I'm going to go ahead and put it over on this wall, and then we'll slowly move our way over the later reactions to here, so we can go ahead straight through here and input it into our reactor. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll have 5 reaction chambers for this. And I'm going to go ahead here and come off this point and make another P2P channel just for all this stuff, all the reactor stuff, because it'll take quite a few channels, I think, in the end. So what needs to happen here is I need to get some exporters. We'll grab some exporters, and we'll go... I mean, I'm going to use them all anyway. We might as well craft as many as we can right now. And then export, 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 export. And then from here, I'm going to set it to coal blocks. I think we all know why we're setting to coal blocks at this point. Coal block, and coal block, and coal block. Okay. And it's also important to come through here and set your config how you want it. So for example, like I want the items to come in from the back and then shut off everything else for item input. For now, at least. We'll be extracting the sulfur out here soon. Also, if you mistakenly get some kind of chemical somewhere you don't want it, you can go ahead and make the gauge dropper and then right-click it on whatever you're trying to get rid of, and then it'll go in here. And then from there, like, they're cheap enough at just glass panes and osmium that if you want, you can just throw it away. Okay, so I make a couple of cuts here because I get this set up down pretty well. Just if this isn't like an indicator, you'll need a lot of space for this setup. So we have our 5 set up here, and I'll explain to you what I did to get them set up. We have these advanced chemical tanks next to each one of them to pretty much avoid the hydrogen that comes out of here, because you have no choice but to get rid of it out of this machine. And I'm outputting it to the right here into the advanced chemical tank, and then we're storing all the hydrogen here and then dumping the excess. That way this machine will never stop running unless we're full of sulfur, which isn't going to happen. The hydrogen will just get voided if we have too much of it, which I also don't think is going to happen, but you never know. And then if we come down here, you'll see it's being supplied by oxygen. from our electrolytic separator. Again, dumping the excess of the hydrogen and then pushing all the oxygen to where it needs to go, which is all of these, which are all stocked with coal from our buses with upgrades and everything in the back. And yeah, so now we should be good. All we need to do is run water to these. And to run water to these from our electrolytic separator, I'm just going to take another thing out from our sink here. And we can use the mechanical pipe, I think is what it is. We'll do this. Yeah, it's on wrench mode. Extract from here, and then we will come up and to the left of every machine. I don't want it to be this high up, but I don't have a choice here, do I? Yeah, we're getting pretty messy already, but that's the nature of this beast. It's going to be pretty messy. But at least it's consistent. So now we have all of our water and everything being ran to everything. The reason our electrolytic separator is down there is running because it needs to fill up this thing with oxygen. Yeah, it'll be a while before that happens. And also, just so you know, if you are running this thing with max speed upgrades and everything, it is a wee bit expensive to run. But, you know, just keep that in mind. So last but certainly not least, we just need to grab our sulfur out the front, which is good because it's the last side we have available to us. And I'm going to go ahead and use logistical transporters to pull out the front just to keep the aesthetic of purple going. And I'll go ahead and store it in a drawer. So there we go. Now we have our fully automated sulfur up and running. I'll go ahead and upgrade this drawer so it can hold about 50k. Also, a good thing you might want to do is open up your thing here and the reaction chamber. Go ahead and mute that because that's super loud. The electrolytic separator, I'm also going to mute that as well because that's also very loud. And one thing you want to keep an eye on once you start machines like this is once you've got them all firing on all cylinders, like everything's cleared out and firing on all cylinders, you want to make sure your buffer tube here is not going down. It'll fluctuate a little bit, but make sure the overall is not net negative, or you will run out at some point in the future, and that'll disrupt the whole system. So as you can see here, we're still making more oxygen than we're using. And I think at this pace, I could easily add a couple more reaction chambers. And if I need to, we can, because this is easily expandable at this point for us. But yeah, I'm going to leave it here just to see if this amount of sulfur we're making is enough, because we've produced over 2,000 in less than like 3 minutes. So if we go back into our quest book, you'll see cooling our reactor. It recommends you use a sink from cooking for blockheads. I would also recommend it. Very powerful, very good to use. Go and claim that reward. We got our sulfur, very good, very nice. Uranium, very good, very nice. Next up here, we're going to need uranium cake. That's going to be your kind of next thing here. Now, uranium cake is super easy to make. So all you need is an enrichment chamber. I'm going to go ahead and make an ultimate enriching factory and have just an export of uranium. Because we have a little bit of uranium. I wouldn't say we have that much. But I think we're acquiring it at fast enough pace that we shouldn't go through it all or like be in a net negative once we build up our initial stockpile. Because for us at this point, we're also not using uranium at all. So it's not that big of a deal if we use almost all of it before we go net negative, I guess. And since this doesn't require any steps before it, I'm just going to go ahead here and put our enrichment factory there. And I'm going to put a universal cable, which I'm sure I have in my inventory. I don't know why I'm looking for that. We'll go ahead and put it there and then slap it with our upgrades that I usually do. Like so and like so. Make sure our sort is on. And I'm going to open up the wall behind it back here. Just a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead, grab some flukes cables and run this back here, and then we'll grab an exporter, which I'm also sure I have in my inventory. Go like so, and then we'll grab our accelerator cards, and then we will grab some uranium and export that to here any moment now. I need to make sure that back is inputs. And then eject on. And now we should be getting lots of uranium cake. I'm going to grab the uranium cake here, put it in here, lock the drawer, break it. Break it, please. It looks like that did not carry over. Okay, no, the lock carried over, but the pipe that was in there did not carry over. So now I want to put the cakes in there. I'm going to go ahead and let that store a whole boatload too. And then I just put something in there I did not want to put in there. My universal cables, and we'll take our mechanical pipe. Like, so, wait, not the mechanical pipe. We need a logistical pipe. There we go. They look kind of similar. So that's why I got confused. And no, not that. Don't connect here, please. You're making me look bad. Put it up top, and then we can set the output to front, eject on, and there we go. Now we're getting all of our cake, Elorium cake. And we will definitely drain our initial supply because we have a lot to store. And that's fine with me. I don't think we have enough uranium actually to completely fill this, but I do want to see how low our uranium goes. No, we definitely do. We have enough, but I want to see how low our uranium goes. We're at 244 now, and once it fills up, I'll check back on it again, if I remember, and see how much we have. Because that will dictate whether I make uranium seeds or not to supplement what we're already mining. So next up, we'll go ahead and claim this quest. Boom, boom. And then now we need hydrofluoric acid. So we need fluorite, which I'm sure we have a lot of. I actually need to go ahead and find out where we're storing fluorites. At functional. And we do need to go ahead and upgrade just how much we can store, because yeah, that was not enough. We'll see how much we get. I wish I would have stockpiled a little bit more, but it is what it is. Not that big of a deal. So we need the sulfuric acid with fluoride in a chemical dissolution chamber. So to get sulfuric acid, we need to get it from Mekanism, which is just a chemical infuser of water vapor and sulfur trioxide. Sulfur trioxide is sulfur dioxide and oxygen. And then this, as you can probably guess, to get sulfur dioxide is just chemical oxidizing sulfur. I'm not sure how many we're going to need. I'm going to go ahead and start off with probably 2 chemical oxidizers. No. We're going to go for 4. 4 chemical oxidizers here. And hopefully we'll see how far that gets us. It's also worth noting that like our separator over here, this entire setup, if you upgrade everything, is very power hungry. Let's be careful about that. So what I'm going to do here is come out the back and then run our sulfur like so. And I'm going to power these from the bottom, or at least try to. So there we go. Now all these are running and should be producing us sulfur dioxide. And then I'm not really sure. I'm thinking these ultimate cables might actually not be fast enough. We might need to put a second ultimate cable on here to pull out faster. So I actually decided to get rid of our ultimate cable here and replace it with pipes from, well, an item pipe from pipes with a ultimate pipe upgrade in there, and also set to round robin. Now with all of our sulfur dioxide, we make sulfur trioxide, which is going to take oxygen mixed with sulfur dioxide. And as you may remember, we are already producing quite a bit of oxygen, more than we're using right now. Our buffer is still filling, which means we can go ahead and use it for our sulfur trioxide recipe here. And I'm only going to make 1 to start off with, because these things are very quick. So in order to get this power, I'm going to go ahead and hook up the universal cable to the side like this, and then hook up our pressurized tube with the oxygen below. Which means our chemicals input should be from the bottom. This will fill up with oxygen. We can turn off that because that's our universal. And again, we're pulling the oxygen from our already existing system down here. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and close this off a little bit to make it look at least a little bit of clean. But yeah, you will be making a mess here if you could not tell. Now we'll take our ultimate pressurized tubes from here. And this should all be filled up with sulfur dioxide. And then we're going to come in from the back here and say it's also an input. Or number 2, input 2. And now we have this mixed with that. And now we're making sulfur trioxide. And then I need to go ahead and upgrade these. And as you can see, it fills up very quickly. All right, there we go. Hopefully we can hear ourselves think now, because I've went ahead and muted everything. I'm going to check out our uranium. Uranium's actually not doing too bad. Uranium might be okay. So now we're filling everything up with sulfur dioxide and everything, and now we have our sulfur trioxide. Next, with our trioxide, we're gonna want to make sulfuric acid, and to make sulfuric acid, it's just gonna take the water vapor and sulfur trioxide that we just made to make sulfuric acid. It's also worth noting, just to get this sulfur dioxide going, we are actually losing quite a bit of the sulfur that we already built up. So as you can see, you use a lot of sulfur to make very small amounts, honestly, of sulfur dioxide. Or it could have been my stupid self in forgetting to dump the excess of the chemical tanks. That definitely put a damper on things, because who knows how long these were not working. That might have been on me. But with that, we were actually the net positive at this point. It's very, very minor. Like we might be plus N sulfur per minute, as opposed to like what we're using and stuff. So yeah, it's a very, as you can see, it is going up, but it is very slow. Like we do not have much left over at all. So to get the sulfuric acid, we just need to take what's in here with a ultimate pressurized tube. That'll get our sulfur trioxide into here, and then we'll come in from the back here and say, hey, from the back, input to the first slot, that's fine. And now we're full of sulfur trioxide, which means we just need the water vapor. And to get water vapor, you just need to use a rotary condensator and just put water in there. So, not hard. We'll go ahead and hook the power up to the bottom of this bad boy, and it will go through all the water. But I'm gonna go ahead and we should have quite a bit of water from here, and if we're right here, I'll line it up, and I'll go ahead and just sneak some of this water off this line and over to our condensator, which needs... Whoa, 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 why are you in there? Ultimate mechanical pipe, and we'll go ahead, bring you down one, and then, bring you over like so. And then I'll be able to close this back up. Like so. Can we close the one under this? Yes, we can. Not that it matters, but yep, there we go. So now we have our water vapor mixed with our sulfuric trioxide. Again, upgrades all the way around. And now we have our sulfuric acid. So next on the list, to get our hydrofluoric acid, we need to mix fluorides in a chemical dissolution chamber. With all of that, do I have a chemical dissolution chamber just by chance? No, that's a chemical crystallizer. Can't make it either, so I'll go ahead and make a chemical dissolution chamber. Pretty straightforward. And then with our chemical dissolution chamber, we'll go ahead and pump the sulfuric acid into here like so. Just by hooking it up in front, we'll take the chemicals input from the back, and this is already set to output the front with auto eject. And I'll go ahead and grab a universal cable, power it up, and now this just needs fluorite. And I'm back in our where we originally started, behind the first wall, and we have two more channels left open here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just run a smart cable all the way down to where we need the fluorite to go. Now I'll go ahead and put an exporter right there, and we will look for fluorites here. Put acceleration cards there. And then we should, once I set items to the input side, eject on. Now we have our fluorite, and then we should be able to make our hydrofluoric acid, but you know, gotta put the upgrades in. There we go. Then we'll go ahead and claim the reward for this. I've also made the distinction that we're not going to make it to antimatter in this episode. I always forget how long this takes. So we need the uranium hexafluoride. So you'll need a chemical infuser and mix your hydrofluoric acid with uranium oxide. So if we go ahead and grab another infuser here, go ahead and craft that for me. I made a lot of the machine recipes just because that was needed. And I'll go ahead and set the hexafluoride chemicals to output on the front. And then on here, we will set the back to input on 1. Now we have some hydrofluoric acid stored up here. And as per usual, need to add in our upgrades. And then to get the hydrofluoric, what was it called? It was called the hexafluoride. Hexafluoride here. Oh, on Mekanism, uranium hexafluoride. You just need to combine the uranium oxide and hydrofluoric acid. We have the hydrofluoric acid here, but to get the uranium oxide, it's actually pretty easy. You just set a chemical oxidizer and feed it yellow cake uranium. So we'll go back to the starting position here and grab things from our uranium cakes. And now we have this here, and it will go ahead and make us the uranium oxide in it. And I'll go ahead and throw the upgrades in it and transport the uranium oxide from here into here. Man, oh man, is the cabling an absolute mess, but good thing I don't have to look at it. Then we will just take our pressurized tubes here and hook it up like so. And then it's already set to uranium oxide here and here. And then we'll make our uranium hexafluoride. But this thing actually needs to be powered because I forgot to do that. There we go. And now we're full up on uranium hexafluoride. Last thing to do here is go ahead and get an isotopic centrifuge. These are the last things we need to make in order to get the actual fuel that we need. I will make a recipe for these. They're really easy to make. So I'm going to go ahead and get the stuff we need for one. And we'll craft it up. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it one block out just in case we do need more. I don't think we will. We'll grab our... There it is. Pressurized tube. So that way we put the uranium hexafluoride out the front. And then here we will... maybe? Did I read that wrong? Once we have an isotopic centrifuge, we can run our uranium hexafluoride and create fissile fuel. See, that wasn't so bad, was it? That was awful. So I don't think this is powered up all the way. So we'll go ahead and do this and this, and I'll go ahead and run our universal cable out like so. And then our front face will then be the input here. And now we are full on fissile fuel. And there we are. So now we have everything we need for our reactor. And as you can see, the setup gets like big and then smaller and smaller as you go down the line. That's because you need the most of the things in the back and then less and less as you go forward. Because things like this are so fast, you're not gonna need multiple really. But as you might be able to see here, sulfur dioxide is going to be by far your biggest bottleneck, which means sulfur is going to be your biggest bottleneck. So if you have any bottlenecks in your system, like I said in the beginning, I'm going to reinforce it. Sulfur will be your bottleneck. I guarantee it. If you have one at all, it's going to be sulfur. So I'm going to go ahead and put our reactor port over here, like I said I would. Let's go ahead and line it up with this. And let's go ahead and put it here. Our structure is still complete, so no worries there. And then I'm going to go ahead and do is run our pressurized tube from here. So pressurized tube, and we'll set the output there. And now we should have fissile fuel in here. One thing to note before I do anything, I'm going to step back so you can hear me, is once you have fissile fuel and stuff in this, do not break it. Make sure you have this stuff going where you want it to go, because it can and will cause radiation. At least I'm pretty sure fissile fuel will. It might not be fissile fuel, but I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and connect this up. And now it's hooked up over here. You can see our fissile fuel is empty, and our reactor should be getting filled up with fissile fuel. And as you can see, we can hold a lot. While our fissile fuel fills up, we're going to get our water situation, because this needs fissile fuel and water. So in order to get water into this, we're going to have to dive into integrated dynamics. You don't have to. You could use a whole bunch of like sinks and then like ultimate mechanical pipes if you want. But integrated dynamics is going to get you the most water in there that you could possibly get in a very small setup. So in order to get this set up, you're going to need these four things. You'll need one fluid exporter, one interface, one variable card, and one logic cable. To get all this though, you do need crystallized mineral chunks, which comes from this mechanical squeezer and then the mineral logs. You don't have to make the mechanical squeezer though. You can just make the normal squeezer, which I think I'm going to do because I don't want to get too far into this stuff, because then it requires this and all that. So basically what this is, you take in mineral stuff, which we don't have. I'm going to have to grow some trees and cut them down, it would seem. But yeah, so let's go ahead and do that, and then I will be back once I have some logs. So to use the squeezer, all you have to do is put a log in and jump. And you get some resin in here. And that resin needs to go into a drying basin. So if we go ahead here and look at the drying basin, go ahead and make one of these. Pretty much put it wherever you want it, honestly. I'm going to go ahead and move this stuff down here. And make some more. There we go. So now we have 1 bucket of mineral resin. And then we grab our fluid pipe here. And you can just pretty much connect it up like so. And now you have mineral resin in here. And it will go ahead and dry into a block. Then after about 7-8 seconds, you'll have this block. Right click it, and now you have a block of mineral. And then to reset this, just put it next to the redstone signal. You can do a button, whatever you want, and then just repeat the process. So I'm gonna go ahead and craft everything I need here, between the logics and all of that. We'll need the interface. There we go. And then we'll need the exporter as well, which will take variable cards, which gets a little expensive. So now we have some of these. And some of these. And now we have everything we need. First, we need to grab our sink. And then put it like close to this. I'm just going to put it right here. And by right there, I'm going to put it over just 1 more block. And then you want to place your fluid interface on the sink like so. And then put our fluid exporter on this fission reactor port. And then connect the two with logic cables. Nope. Go up, please. Not this way. Give me that back. We're done with those. And then right click on your fluid exporter here. And then I need the variable card that I left in our system. And then you want to go to export all fluids. And then go ahead and put this here. And then click the plus icon. And then change this to whatever rate you want. Or leave it on channel 0. I mean, that's what I meant to say. And then that's my record button. This little arrow up here, go to fluid transfer rate, and then take this out and set it to like some ridiculous, as high as it can go. X. It'll turn green here in a second. There we go. So now we can transfer a lot. And as you can see, once we exit this, our thing is now full of water. That is 583 buckets, lots of buckets. I think it's 583,000 buckets. That was instantaneously filled. And all it took was this little setup. You can use Mekanism and stuff, like I said, but I know if I did not do this, people would start yelling at me. Well, I did it this way, guys. Just for you. And as you can see, we are still filling up with a lot of fissile fuel, but at this point, we can go ahead and hit activate. But coming back to our fuel setup real quick, I have noticed that this is our bottleneck right here, is this just isn't fast enough. So we're not pulling out enough hydrofluoric acid, and everything else behind it's backing up, which is fine. We'll have to see once I turn this on how quickly this starts diminishing. So we'll go ahead and hit activate here. As you can see, we are actually still gaining fissile fuel. So we are now officially making enough fissile fuel to fully, like, this thing will never turn off. Unless our nuclear waste, comes out to nothing, which would be bad. But now we've hit activate. If you come up here and hit this stats thing, you can see here that our max burn rate is 1,920 millibuckets per tick. And right now we are setting the rate limit to 0.1 millibuckets per tick, which is why we're able to make so much. Or keep our production up and not go low. So for this, I would just recommend that you mess around with it until you start seeing this thing decline. Right now we can do a lot more than 0.1. If I set this to like 5 millibuckets per tick, for example, you'll see this rate limit goes to 5, and then the temperature goes up, and then we are still making quite a bit of fissile fuel, so no need to worry there. But you'll also see that we're starting to build up heated coolant, which is steam. And that's pretty much the reactor, guys. We'll use the steam next episode, but that's your fissile fuel reactor with your nuclear waste, which we'll be using, and the steam. And as you can see here, like I said before, we're still making more than enough fissile fuel. So between episodes, I'm gonna go ahead and mess around with this to see how much we can set this to without breaking, without running out of our fissile fuel, because you don't want this thing to turn off. You ideally want it to run at the same rate, otherwise the heating, the temp will go down, and you'll really end up losing a lot of stuff. So you want it to sit right at an even mark. But yeah, that's for my setup. It's unique to each setup. It's unique to the size. It's unique to how much you're making. So next episode, if you tune in and you followed me exactly one for one, you'll be able to see what rate you can set it to without it being negative or anything. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial-ish episode, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Also, I forgot to mention, if you hit scram before I go, that just turns off your reactor, and it won't break anything. It's totally fine. Your temperature will go down, like I said, but you're not gonna blow anything up if you hit scram.